Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I am going to be reacting to some ADHD TikToks today, so let's do it. Oh, before I get started, I'm filming this intro and the outro on a different day than when I filmed the meat of the content. So, different outfit, you know the drill.
What ADHD feels like. Part 3. I'd like you on this project. Think you can get it to me in a month? A month? Sure. It's plenty of time. Hey, looking forward to seeing what you did on that project tomorrow.
Oh, that's so funny. This is so relatable, and I've actually never seen someone mention this or talk about this in this way. There's just almost no better way to portray this than exactly what he did, because I know that feeling, and like I actually have stress dreams that involve this exact scenario. I don't know, something about watching this was just so validating and just so like helpful. I think it's something that I've never really articulated about my own experience, nor heard anyone else articulate. And so, I don't know, just anytime I find someone talking about something that I have not explicitly thought about before, but that is so relatable, it's just like dopamine in my brain. Let's see another one.
Honey, I am just too tired to clean up dinner. It's okay, honey. We'll just leave it till tomorrow. Honey, what are you doing? My brain found the energy to strip the wallpaper I left half done 6 years ago. And you're
Oh my
making
God.
nice clothes. I shouldn't have said anything. I'm sorry. And now you've lost your dopamine for the task. Well, you got a whole nother section done. Just think, we'll be ready to paint in another 12 years. I love you.
Oh, that's so funny and sad and so true. Multiple things. The first thing being the like, oh, I couldn't possibly conceive of doing the dishes or cleaning up from XYZ thing or whatever it is. And then like minutes later, you have the energy to do something way more demanding, because it really is so much about the way that your brain works and the way that your brain rewards itself. Because if your brain is not rewarding itself when you are thinking of doing a task, there's just no way you can do it. I mean, you have to do some major neurotransmitter gymnastics in order to get your brain to engage with that thing. But then all of a sudden, when you think of another task that is rewarding your brain just by thinking about doing it, then all of a sudden you're energized and you have it in you to do that thing, even if it's a much bigger thing. 100% true, 100% happens to me, and that's probably a pretty universal ADHD dynamic. But it can be super frustrating because sometimes the thing that you have to do is like a very small but very important thing, and it just doesn't matter because you can't do it. And then you can go and like do something ridiculously big, no problem. It's just, this is one of the reasons why I as a layman and uneducated person hold an opinion which has to do with the name of the disorder. And I think that ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, is just a really, I want to see that changed in the coming years, because I think it's a name that really shows a lack of understanding of the experience and of the disorder itself. There is no lack of attention. People with ADHD can have really intensified attention experiences. It's just a lack of the ability to control that attention. So like you might not be able to hold attention for a certain task. You can't tell your brain, like reason with your brain to get it to hold its attention for that task. So it's like you don't have a say. It's not that you don't have the ability to pay attention, you just don't have a say over what you're paying attention to.
ADHD feels like.
Hey, weird question, but do you know where any paper clips are?
Yeah, if you go to the cabinet that's...
I've seen this one before. He's hilarious and so incredibly intuitive and just spot on when it comes to describing things for people who don't have ADHD in a way that I think is relatable. And I think that's cool because it helps to bridge the gap between people who do have ADHD and people who don't, and helping there to be some understanding between the two.
Next to my basket of clean laundry, and then go to the third drawer. In the back, there's a plastic container, and there's one blue paper clip mixed in with loosely stored
Yes.
rubber bands.
There's no way.
What? No, I'm serious.
This is coming from the guy who spent 2 hours trying to find his phone yesterday when it was in his back pocket the entire time.
Okay.
Yeah, this is so true. And I think the thing he just pointed out, I think that those are two different skills. Like, knowing where something is among the chaos is a different skill. Like, knowing where something lives, right? I think is a different skill than keeping yourself from misplacing things that you probably carry around with you a lot. Does that make any sense? I don't know. I just feel like there's a difference there, and that's why it's very easy to lose things that you may have very recently used but didn't put back. And then the difference between that and like knowing where something is because it lives there and it's always there, even if it's a ridiculous place or like there's a ridiculous list of steps to find that thing. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but this rings so true for me.
Okay, well, in my defense, it's usually in my front pocket.
Is this why you don't like it when I clean?
Well, yeah, the last time you cleaned, you moved my couch charger.
Couch charger?
The phone charger that I store behind the middle couch cushion that I use alongside the portable charger that I've stored in the inseam of the left couch cushion.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had no idea. By the way, I think I left something in your car. Can I see your keys?
Oh, for sure. 1 second. I just saw...
Hey, weird question, but do you...
I don't know if you can see, but the keys are like right in front of him in the foreground, and he's like, "Where are my keys?" There are lots of different types of blindness when it comes to ADHD that have nothing to do with actual vision or eyeball function. Time blindness is one. I've talked about something that I call task blindness, which is when you can't really quantify the size of a task, or maybe the resources and energy it's going to take to complete the task, or kind of where the task ends, if that makes sense. And then this is another one where literally it's like if you're not expecting something to be in a certain place, you might not even see it if it's there. It's very strange. It reminds me of the like classic thing that people talk about with like, I think the trope is like the husband opens the fridge and can't find the mayonnaise, and the wife is like, it's literally in front of your face. But there's something about ADHD also that makes this happen, and I don't know exactly why or the mechanisms of it, and I don't know why it isn't a universally occurring experience. Like, it doesn't happen all the time. It just goes to show that the ADHD brain is so ridiculously nuanced and so just like, it's not what meets the eye. And I love so many things about that. And also it's really difficult to live with sometimes. Let's do another one.
What it's actually like to have ADHD, because I'm sick of seeing these fake TikToks about people who say they have ADHD, but they don't. So
Okay, interesting. So this is a phenomenon that happens a lot in the mental health space, I guess, where I think that there are people, or at least I've heard that there are people, I haven't really come across them as far as I know, but people who kind of have this like performative content where they pretend to have a certain disorder or condition or mental health struggle or cognitive thing, like, you know what I mean? Like, they're kind of like posing as a person who experiences that. And I think that can, if it is a thing, which I believe that it could be, yeah, there's no reason to think that there aren't people who lie in the world. I just don't think that most people are like that. But that could be confusing if it was the majority of like ADHD content creators that were people who were posing as people with ADHD. That would be very confusing and misinformative. Is that a word? But you know what I mean. And so I hope that that's not the case, but I'm interested to see what this guy says. I have not seen this one.
here is it from an actual diagnosed person myself. Here's what it's like. Number one, you forget basic things, tasks that you have to get done every day. Like, I'll forget to brush my teeth. I'll forget to brush my hair before I go to school. etc., etc. Number 2, the most annoying one is the fact that we pretty much have a speech impediment because of like how terribly we talk. Like different words will come out at different times when they're not supposed to come out. Like it takes like
Okay. I think I see what he's getting at, and I'll let him finish in a second, but it's not really a speech impediment. Anyway, I think I get what he's saying, which is that, like, a lot of times your brain moves a lot faster than your mouth does, so, like, the words come out in the wrong order, or, like, even sometimes in the wrong sentence. Like, they're meant for, like, 3 sentences later, and they just come out. So yeah, this definitely is a thing. I don't think it's a universal experience, or maybe people just experience it to different degrees, but let's see what he has to say.
3 tries for me to record a freaking video because I'm just like, word vomit. I already forgot what number I'm on because, I forget things a lot. The next one, frick. Oh yeah, the days where you forget to take your medication, you feel freaking amazing. And then the next day that you take it, you literally feel like crap. Crying.
Interesting. That seems counterproductive. Maybe you're on the wrong medication, or maybe medication isn't for you if that's the case. I have not taken medication for ADHD in about, I don't know, 25 plus years. So I don't really identify with this just because I've not had recent enough experience. But to me, that sounds not right.
For no reason. Oh my god. I will literally just start bawling my eyes out for the dumbest shit I've ever, it doesn't even make any sense. Like for part 2, because there's a lot more.
Okay, maybe he means emotionally. I see that. If maybe you skip your medication, the medication is all about, and the disorder is all about neurotransmitters. And so I can see how that could cause like emotional, like unpredictability, or, maybe a loss of, I don't know, a feeling of like being on top of your emotions, I guess. I could see that.
Can you explain the difference of ADD and ADHD to me?
This is something I have feelings about. I'm curious to see what he says. And I might have to look this up to make sure that my opinion is correct too, because I'm not 100% positive.
Yeah, ADHD is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which basically means we have a really big problem when it comes to regulating our attention spans. But we are able to focus on one specific task, but it comes at the cost of being able to focus on anything else. Oh, so that's why I'm obsessed with these things. But where does that
Okay, so he's talking about hyperfocusing.
leave ADD? ADD is attention deficit disorder. There is no hyperactivity associated with it. So one of the big differences is the hyperfocus. Yeah, it just usually means that it's more inattentive. Okay, thanks for explaining that. Now give me back my button toy.
Okay, this one's interesting, and I am going to look this up, and if I insert something here in editing, that means that my theory was not right or needed some kind of clarification or correction. But my impression, so when I was a kid, I think that my diagnosis was ADHD and ADD, because on my medical, it was a manila envelope in the school nurse's office, and she had a drawer. I hope it was locked because it had everyone's medications in it, but it was a file drawer. She pulled it out. Everyone had a manila envelope, and mine said probably my name, and it said ADD/ADHD. And it probably said the medication, I'm not sure. But anyway, I remember that, and I remember reading that every day when she pulled it out and gave me my medication. But I'm pretty sure that that's because back then they were considered to be 2 different disorders, or at least 2 different diagnoses. And I think that now, they're considered all to be ADHD, with people's experience falling along a spectrum, which can include aspects of hyperactivity. It can include aspects of inattention, if you will, if we're entertaining that word. I guess it's like a lack of, or maybe we could say like attention dysregulation. Here we are just renaming disorders. Nobody asked me, so it's okay, don't worry. I don't have a say over this, which is probably a good thing because I don't know what I'm talking about. But I think that is the current way that it sits, which is that it's a spectrum that encompasses both. But I have still heard some people making a distinction between the 2. And maybe if my theory is correct, maybe he is also correct and he's explaining it in the old way of understanding. And I don't know if maybe different states or different countries diagnose it differently, but that is my understanding, is that it is one disorder, ADHD, which encompasses and can include various combinations of things like inattention, hyperactivity, and like lots of other symptoms. But again, I will insert more explanation here if it is needed. Let's try another one. Okay, already, I don't love this. Okay, how to know if you have ADHD. Already this gets into self-diagnosing, and I think that it is helpful if you suspect that you might have ADHD to watch some of this content and then use that as a first step. The next step being scheduling an appointment with someone who can give you professional advice and maybe an assessment and maybe a diagnosis or no diagnosis, if the case may be. But I don't love when people are like, how to know if you have ADHD, because you can't really know. I mean, it would take away from the legitimacy of the diagnosis to be able to just properly diagnose yourself. And I know that some people can. Some people can say, I think I have ADHD because of this, this, and this, and they turn out to be correct, and that's completely fine. But I think that, like, scientifically, like, if we're being respectful of science and the medical process, this rubs me the wrong way. Yep. Yes. This one is really bad for me. Like, I've had this my whole life, but it's worse recently. I will like be saying something to myself that I need to do or go and get in another room or whatever. And I mean, maybe after 2 steps, I've already forgotten. And I think it has to do with visual context. This is my guess. I have so many theories that are probably garbage, but this is my like uneducated layman's theory. Okay. I feel like it has to do with visual context. And when you are thinking about something and your brain is taking in all of this visual information, it's almost like that thought and that moment are like saved in together. So this is bad words. Okay, so then you move, even if you just turn and face a different way, all of a sudden you're getting different visual information. And something about that might be like overwhelming or overstimulating, and it causes you to forget what it was that you were trying to hold in your brain while processing all the visual information. So for me, a lot of times, part of the reason why I think this is because a lot of times when I forget, if I go back to where I had the idea, I can remember it. And I wonder if that's because I'm accessing that saved information that exists in the place where I'm getting the visual information that I was getting when I saved it in my brain. Am I talking crazy? Because it's highly possible. I actually used to do this when I was supposed to be sleeping as a kid. Like, I would do like all kinds of gymnastics and like, yeah, totally relate. That one's interesting. I remember a few years ago, I went to the movies with my family, my parents, siblings, and my husband and my kids. And maybe not my kids, because I think it was like an adult movie. Anyway, I remember all of a sudden being conscious of the fact that I was like tapping or like bouncing my leg. And I have like movie theater anxiety. I think the like contrast of the light combined with like the intense sound, it makes me think that my heart is racing, and so then I get anxious. Something like that. Anyway, so I think I was extra like fidgety and I was bouncing my leg. And so I was like, oh, I wonder what would happen if I just stopped, if I just made myself sit perfectly still. And I had like a full-blown panic attack. Like, it was so strange. I do not get panic attacks, but I sat there and I was like, within just seconds, maybe a couple minutes, I was not okay. I felt sick. I was panicking. I like went to the bathroom to try and like collect myself, and I was like, am I having a heart attack? Like, what is happening? And then I just like took a minute and breathed and like just kind of like walked myself out of it, and I felt better. And looking back, I realized it was because I took away from myself the thing that helps my brain regulate itself. I stopped myself from doing the thing that my brain needs to do to stay regulated. So anyway, super interesting. But if that's you, you don't need to sit still if someone calls you out, because if your brain needs to fidget, then you need to fidget. Okay, here's the thing. Here's what I'll say about this one. I had a little preemptive gripe about it. And I think that the problem I have with it is that, yes, these are all things that most of them are things that I experience as a person who has ADHD. And I think they are all pretty common. However, these symptoms could also mean you have something else. And so it's better to get a professional opinion than to let Dr. TikTok diagnose you.
Why is the chain red? Why is it coloured in? It's a nice walk. 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Oh, weird. What do you reckon he's doing? I'll be the little ninja. I'm tired. This is so cool. Rockers in there.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I'm exhausted just looking, just listening to this one. All I have to say is yes. And that is all I have for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know down below what you think of this kind of video. I actually had fun doing it. I thought I hated reaction videos, but then I started watching reaction videos about content that I was actually interested in, and then I liked them. Maybe you're the same. Let me know what you think, and I will see you in my next one.